Hey, y'all, each week on The Sam Sanders Show from KCRW, we ask big questions and share hot takes about the pop culture we love.
Now that we have YouTube, we don't need any more biopics. If they've been alive such that I can watch them on YouTube, I don't need it.
I don't think that music is getting worse. I think y'all just don't listen to artists who aren't in the mainstream.
Taylor Swift, retire. It's time to retire.
The Sam Sanders Show from KCRW, wherever you get your podcast, and on YouTube.
I went and found myself a job where I danced nude for money. But all of a sudden I was thinking, do I dare tell this story from a live stage?
You're listening to Life in 7 Songs. From the San Francisco Standard, I'm your host, Sophie Behrman. Our guest this week is Rhodessa Jones, an actress and teacher who created a landmark play in the 80s exploring gender, race, and sexuality based on her real-life experience as a peep show performer. Rhodessa is the 8th of 12 children born to migrant farm workers and became a single mother at 16. She's a pioneer who overcame a hell of a lot to find her voice and then used her talent to help the next generation find theirs, eventually teaching women in prisons how to tell their own powerful stories through performance. Rhodessa Jones, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So tell me more about your childhood, who raised you and what values you were instilled with.
I was very lucky. My mother and father, at the end of their lives, they had been married for more than 50 years. And I'm not going to say it was all sanctified and all peaceful and harmonious, but even their fights were real. You know, they were real and honest and to the point. And it touched me profoundly. My grandmother, my mother's mother, Big Mama, taught us through speaking her own story, her own truth. And then as I grew into myself, I found it was a very, very seductive ability to share a story. And I was saying just recently to my granddaughter that when you share your story or you hear somebody else's story, it changes your relationship to that person. And it gives other people permission to do it as well. And then being a Black American, I wanted to be seen and I wanted to be heard.
Is there a song that was core to your family that your mother and father would play in your childhood?
Well, I remember Mahalia Jackson, How I Got Over.
How I got over. How did I make it over? You know my soul look back and wonder, how did I make it over?
When she would start to sing, it would just like open the world. You know, my soul sits back and wonders, how did I make it over? And again, it's back to my own relationship to this country. But as we all grow older and we look back at our lives, it's like, I lived through that. I managed that.
So tell me more about what life was like as the child of migrant farm workers.
Well, you know, you learn to work early. I have no problem with the lift and the tug of things. My father would say, I'm a poor man. I can't help you. If you don't work, you'll steal. And you're going to go to jail, and I can't do anything about that. And I think, oh, my God, my father who could do anything. And he'd say, look, learn to work. We were the potato pickers. And my sister taught us all to read before you went to school. She said, because people are going to think because you're digging in the dirt that you weren't smart. And as far as the travel, we'd be on the road by April. And we'd be headed north from Florida, from our home. And we would be in upstate New York until September, October. We were high plane drifters, and we lived on the outside of things.
And, you know, you are 11, 12, all ages on the road. But I'm wondering what you're dreaming about, what you're listening to, what's on your mind.
Well, we all want to be in love. I had my first real boyfriend, Pee Wee Walker. And I remember having to say goodbye to this little boy and how sad it was. I remember the last time I ever saw him, was early morning. His mother was saying, "You'll get back in this house." And he ran out and climbed the fence. And he said, "Bye, Ro. Bye." And we were just babies. Maybe we were 6 then. But so to answer your question, there was a lot of longing sometimes that you couldn't even name.
You were listening to Cupid by Sam Cooke.
Yes.
Tell me about that song.
Well, we all loved Sam Cooke. He was the prettiest colored boy we'd ever seen. And he was so successful. And if you listen to this song, it's like, Cupid, hold back your bow.
Cupid, draw back your bow and let your arrow go straight to my lover's heart for me, for me. Cupid, please hear my cry.
And we all felt like he was singing specifically to us. It's like, straight to my lover's heart for me.
Such a smile on your face. Where are you going when you hear this?
Well, the music too is the cha-cha. And the cha-cha was big there for a moment, like the bossa nova. It dawned on me listening to it now that we would be dancing all over the road. And another thing, my mother and father, when they came off the road, we still had a jukebox in our living room. And the minute my parents would go to work, we learned how to trick the thing so we could just dance to music all morning in the summertime. I just remember my brother Azel teaching us all how to slow dance to this kind of music. Yeah.
Rhodessa, what were your teen years like for you?
I was really a tomboy. But like I was just talking earlier about wanting to be in love, and because it's what everything from the Musketeers, the world said that's what we should be searching for is love. But thanks to my dad, I could shoot a gun by the time I was 12. I could shoot a rifle. I had to watch them slaughter my pig.
Did she have a name, this pig?
Cruella. Cruella, was the pig's name. And she would watch TV with us. She would learn how to open the screen door with her little snozzle. Then comes the next season, and my father said to me very sternly, that pig lived and died for you, for us. Because I said, I'm never eating meat again. He says, you're going to eat. He said, because that pig came and went for a reason.
Don't make it meaningless.
Yeah. But I stayed away from that kind of attachment. It was like, I'm not going to ever get attached like that again.
Until it happens.
Until it happens. Well, I just thinking about my daughter's father.
What was his name?
Bob. Actually, his name was George Robert. And when we met, I was 15 and he was 18. And then when we got pregnant, he was at Cornell and I was still in high school.
Take me back. How were you feeling knowing you were going to have a baby?
I ignored it for as long as I could. It was like, and I still slept in this large bed with my 2 sisters. And I think that they suspected something, but then I was the goofy one. I was the tomboy. My mother said, last night I dreamed of fish. Somebody in this house is in a family way. And she started sniffing around. And finally, one Sunday morning, I was in the bathtub. And my mother came in. And my mother had had 19 pregnancies. So she looked at me and said, Bro, you're in a family way. And my sisters ran. They
didn't want to be there.
Out of the bathroom. But I was so relieved.
Yeah. As she knew.
Oh, my God. It was just, it was such a weight off of my young head. At the same time, the shame of it all. I want to just disappear. And then being a Black girl, which now I know the weight of it. I didn't then, but I know that it was sort of this relegation. That's what they do. And my mother was mortified, and my mother was heartbroken. But God bless my mother. My mother said, "Oh, yeah, you're going to school."
What did you listen to get you through it?
I said a little prayer by Aretha, and that was like trying to figure out how to forgive myself.
The moment I wake up, before I put on my makeup, I say a little prayer for you. And while combing my hair now, and wondering what dress to wear now, I say a little prayer for you. Forever and forever, you'll stay in my heart, and I will love you forever.
Aretha Franklin was another holy voice. She had come from the church and went to the blues clubs and had suffered at the hands of men, but then she could just deliver a song like that, And that whole line, forever, forever, you'll stay in my heart. My sisters used to say, I hope you ain't thinking about Bobby. And they were like ready to eat him alive. And I just like, leave me alone.
What happened to Bob?
Bob went and he became general manager for Levi Strauss, and he lived in Africa with his wife.
He didn't stick by you.
No. And that was very hurtful because I took it all. Here I am thinking, oh, this is it. Mm-hmm. And this guy's like, you got to be kidding. I'm on out of here. It was so hard. I never fell that hard in love again,
So you have your daughter. What's your daughter's name?
Sandra Lee.
Sandra Lee. What happened next?
For a minute there, when she was between like 6, 7, 8, his mother took her under wing, because they had a lot more money than my family did. Oh, my mother was devastated, that I let the child go with these people. And then my daughter, when she turned like 7 or 8, she said, if I can't live with you, I'm going to kill myself. And I was like, whoa.
Because you were pursuing your studies and kind of trying to rebuild.
Yeah, I just felt like maybe it was just an excuse, but I felt like she was having a better break with her father's family. And my best friend, Leah, says, I think you've got to change things and take her on row. And I did. But it was so wonderful when because I was a budding hippie chick, right? And then I bring my daughter into this community. She learned how to crochet. She learned how to make bread. She was 8, 9 years old. And it just opened the world for us, It really helped me overcome what I thought had been the tragedy of my life. My daughter was just another jewel in my crown, really.
What song opened the world for you during this time?
I think this is Dylan. Hey, Mr. Tambourine Man.
Hey, Mr. Tambourine Man, play a song for me. I'm not sleepy, and there is no place I'm going to. Hey, Mr. Tambourine Man, play a song for me. In the jingle jangle morning.
Seeing people hitchhiking up and down the highways, my mother used to call people in and feed them. She said, that's somebody's child. And my mother was fascinated that this was all going on, and white and black children were hanging out together. The world has shifted, and hey, Mr. Tambourine Man it was like a shout to the universe, It was so heart-opening.
It's time for a quick break. When we come back, how dancing nude for money leads Rhodessa to the stage. We'll be right back. Hey everyone, I want to recommend a podcast. Hard Knocks is a show about resilience, self-discovery, and finding meaning after chaos, hosted by Amanda Knox. Each week, Amanda sits down with fascinating guests, writers, thinkers, artists, to explore how we learn, grow, and rebuild ourselves after life knocks us down. Amanda brings humor, honesty, and hard-earned perspective to every conversation, drawing on her own experience of being wrongfully convicted and rebuilding her life. Amanda was a guest on Life in 7 Songs in one of our most moving episodes, opening up about how music became a lifeline during her years of wrongful imprisonment. On our show, she spoke candidly about turning pain into wisdom and also about how we're all so much more than our worst moments. If you liked that episode, you'll love her show, available wherever you listen to podcasts.
I'm Jesse Alejandro Cottrell.
And I'm Emily Dreyfus, and this is Pacific Standard Time.
We have stories from all over the state of California, all the big battles that are happening here.
Prop 50,
housing affordability,
tech,
and immigration.
And we're really excited to bring you the stories about how California is dealing with what it means to be alive in 2025.
Subscribe to Pacific Standard Time, a new weekly show from the San Francisco Standard.
We'll have new episodes every Wednesday starting November 19th, wherever you get your podcasts.
So I know I'm skipping a little bit here, and I hope that's okay, but eventually you moved to San Francisco.
Yes, I did. Everybody was really feeling that, and we felt like it was closer to what we were about, getting away from upstate, and not to mention upstate New York was freezing cold. It seemed like everybody that you'd want to meet was here in this city.
So you move across the country. How are you surviving? How are you supporting yourself?
My daughter was going to a public school in the Mission at first and doing well, so well that all of her teachers were constantly reminding me that she was as sharp as a tack, And by the time she got to, I think it was 7th grade, 8th grade, she won the scholarship to Marin Academy. Her father flaked on us. And he said that he was going to pay for her essentials, her incidentals.
Now you are the one responsible paying the tuition.
Yeah. And I went and found myself a job where I dance nude for money. I walked in and they were like, "Oh my God, you're gorgeous." And I had my wigs. And they were like, "Oh, Lily." And I told them my name was Lily. And they said, "Oh, Lily, you shouldn't wear the way you have so much more dignity with that." And I said, "Girl, let's get one thing straight. This isn't about dignity. This is about dollars, And no, I started dancing, and it was fascinating work. The peep show was such that there was a curtain that would open, and there was a nude girl sitting behind glass. And that was $1.
Was there a song that was like your song that you'd take the stage with?
Prince, holy moly. I think it was Soft and Wet was the song. The public could hear this stuff from the street. So they would come in what is going on here? And I was a cutie. Dancer, tight body, and the stage is turning. So sometimes just my butt would be shaking. I'd be sucking my finger. It was titillating. We were the night crew. That was how I named us. I said, welcome to Fantasies in the Flesh, and we are the night crew. And I remember there were women that were very, very disgusted and sad that I was talking about it. I said, you got to be kidding. It's some of the most amazing, because they did not hire black girls in North Beach. And they would tell you to your face, we don't hire black girls. And I talked about all that stuff. And I will always say to the gay boys in the Castro, right on, brothers, because they would say, go ahead, girl.
How did you take that experience and turn it into art?
I was writing. When I was down there working, I had my own journal. I had a lot of questions like, what is it about race and sex? What is it? What do men want from women? And I would be writing this stuff down. But all of a sudden I was thinking, do I dare? Do I dare tell this story from a live stage? And I did.
And you turned that experience into your first one-woman show called The Legend of Lily Overstreet.
And it set my career off. It was like all of a sudden I had all this amazing attention.
Ro, fast forward 10 or so years, you start working in San Francisco prisons.
Yes.
How does that start?
Oh, my God. I got a CETA Artist grant, Comprehensive Educational Training Act. And that was money for artists. And by now, I've been labeled as an artist. And as I said, I was already performing with a dance company.
Okay, so people are seeing your work.
Yeah, and hearing
and all
about
of a sudden
it.
a door opens.
I get a call. Would you be interested in teaching aerobics at the city jail? And I'm like, oh, okay, And I always tell people, I've never professed to be an aerobics teacher, but I was strong and I was a dancer. And I went in. Well, the women weren't interested in aerobics. They would love me doing handstands and walkovers, and they loved it that I was the old broad, But the idea that I could inspire them, because I talk about my life as I moved. Women started to say, can we talk? And I say, yes. I was training women inside to be storytellers, to be actresses. And I said, I'd like to take them out of jail under guard into a public theater. I said, I want to do theater as a way for women to examine their own behavior. I told the women the story about Medea killing her children in revenge when her husband decides that he's going to marry up.
And this is the story from ancient Greek mythology where Medea finds out that her husband is leaving her for another woman. And in vengeance and anger, she kills their 2 sons.
Yeah. And, I had a mother who used to say, I brought you in this world. I'll take you out. But the women were furious about Medea. And they were calling her names. I said, wait a minute. I said, how many of us know where our children are tonight? How many of us care that our children wake up crying for us? And all of a sudden, you saw people pulling back and like putting themselves at the center of the story, not hating on another woman. And I thought, I got something here. And that I gradually started to call it the Medea Project. And people loved the idea of theater for incarcerated women.
Is there a song that you would play for the women at the Medea Project or something you listened to?
At this time in history, Marvin Gaye was the man. And what's going on spoke to the country, what's happening with race relationships and this kind of stuff. And that was a song I played for them. And the first time I played it, some people just sobbed.
To bring some loving here today. Picket lines and picket signs. Don't punish me with brutality. Talk to me so you can see what's going on.
And I said, and think about that question. What's going on, y'all? What's going on that there's so many of us in lockdown?
Well, and just hearing the lyrics, all of them, but especially Talk to Me so you can see.
Yes.
Makes me think of the women and what you were teaching them.
Exactly. And they felt it. But like Marvin's song, just talk to me.
Just talk to me. So what questions would you ask them to get them to open up?
Well, one of the first questions always is, how have you broken your own heart?
How have you broken your own heart? Wow.
Yes. And what would you say to your younger self now? These are like very vital questions.
Can I ask you actually, how did you break your own heart?
By not loving and not being able to see myself, and also not taking heed of what my mother had said. You be careful out there with men, My grandmother would say, don't laugh so loud with your mouth wide open that men can look right down between your legs. And I'm still struggling with that one because I like to laugh. But I've thought about it, that these were the things that I just didn't know they were talking to me. Oh, you were speaking to me too, huh? Yeah.
What would you tell your 15-year-old self looking back?
I'd caution, go slow. Think about yourself first. You know, pretty eyes, pretty lips, all that's well and good. But find a mirror and look at yourself because you're just as beautiful. I wish for a world where it's happening where girls have much more of an expansive fantasy. You know, being in love is great. My mother and father were married for so long. Marriage is great, but the women I work with, I've seen women give up so much, you know, because he said that he loved me, you know, and also getting us to take responsibility for that. That it's not always, oh, they did this. Of course, someone was a part of the mess. But, you know, we would put ourselves in harm's way. Not even to blame, but to look at it. Look at it. This is what happened.
What's the most important thing you want people to take away from your work?
The idea that theater saved my life. It's the lover that's never going to desert you if you don't desert it. You know, and it gave me a voice. I stopped choking. And I'm calm. When I first started seriously working in the jails, I just vowed that I would bring these women to life by never leaving the stage.
Theater saved your life, but
Yes.
Do you feel like your artwork has saved the lives of others?
They tell me so, yeah.
What song comes to mind that frankly captures this whole journey?
I think it's a change that's gonna come.
It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes it will. It's been too hard living, but I'm afraid to die.
That's Sam Cooke again.
And now, you know, that was a song that he wrote when he started looking at the civil rights movement. And I love all of that. And I feel it all. At the same time, I've had a good life. You know, I'm blessed. But I embraced art and culture. It was handed to me and I took it, you know. Yeah, right down to my baby, bringing my baby home with me. I remember I did a show at UC Berkeley, and it was about the passing of my father. And my mother was in the audience. And so I was sitting in the dressing room kind of scared because I know what she was going to do. And it seemed like the place got so quiet. And then next thing I knew, my mother was standing there in the doorway. And she was a little teary. She said, but now I understand what you do. She said, you tell your story as a way to lift the people up. And it was just like, yes, ma'am, thank you. And she said, no, I mean it. She said, you just lifted all those people up out there tonight. And I've never forgotten that, you know, that you tell your story as a way to lift the people up.
Rhodessa Jones, thank you for sharing with us and lifting us all up.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
Life in 7 Songs is a production from the San Francisco Standard. This episode was produced by me, Sophie Behrman, and our senior producer, Jasmine Morris. Our executive producers are Griffin Gaffney and John Steinberg. Nate Toby is our creative consultant. This episode was mixed by Cold August Productions. Booking help from Megan Mitchell. Our theme music is by Kate Davis and Zubin Hensler, and Clark Miller created our show art. Our music consultant is Sarah Tembekshian. You can find this guest's full playlist at sf.news/Spotify. I'm Sophie Behrman. Thanks for listening, and see you next time.